Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill Please, episode number 9. And what I'll be talking about today is something that I consider as my favorite pastime, my favorite hobby, which is reading. It's all about books, reading books. Today's episode, and this is brought to us by PAGCOR, Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation. How did I start to have this fondness or this interest for reading? Actually, my mom told me that at the age of 4, that was the time when I learned how to talk. So she even thought nga, "Uy, si Bigli, more really siguro ni maka-speak og sa'yo." Because I was only able to speak uh, for 4 years old. And then I remember that I had an early exposure to reading materials. We had so many newspapers in the house. This was in the 70s, actually. So we had newspapers in the house. We had the Reader's Digest, and we also had the comics and the entertainment magazines. The people in the house, my mom and dad, my relatives, well, some of my aunts and uncles stayed there with us, and then we had many reading materials, but no novels and no pocketbooks, but a lot of newspapers and a lot of reading materials like the magazines. So that's how I was exposed early to reading. My parents bought so many newspapers and magazines when I was still very, very young. So I was more into reading than playing. I had one brother who was not so fond of reading, but I was so into reading that I spent more time uh, the coloring books, skimming through these children's books. So that's how I developed an early love for reading. Our first books in the house actually were the ones that I requested. I wanted a Nancy Drew and a Hardy Boys mysteries, just about a dozen of them. I would like to say thank you to Laurelyn Romano, my classmate in grade school at CIC Gizo branch, and she lent me her book, the Nancy Drew mystery, The Ringmaster's Secret. That was the first Nancy Drew book that I was able to read and enjoy. And the first Hardy Boys was actually the the Screeching Owl, the clue of the Screeching Owl. So I started with young adult books, and then I had the liking for more serious books later in high school. My favorite book in the house in the 70s and 80s was the Webster Dictionary, the collegiate edition. I just loved that book, and I was so sad not to bagyo nabasa akong dictionary. It was so precious to me because that was something thick. That was a thickest book that we have in the house. So Webster Pagito, which we used um, elementary and early high school. But unfortunately, the typhoon, well, ruined my favorite book. In high school, I was in the University of the Philippines here in Lahog, Cebu City, and we were made to read books when we were still in our first year. So they gave us this Ayn Rand book, Anthem, and Greek mythology. So our instructors at the University of the Philippines made us read books. And otherwise, there was no internet. There was no World Wide Web. So we really had to read the book in its entirety so that we can really have an honest summary or analysis of a novel. So dili pareha karon they can just go uh, with the click of a button, you can already have the summary of a book. In high school, I also was into a lot of fiction, bestsellers, books that I rented from a bookshop in Puente Osmeña. And I also went to Manalili, yes, downtown. where I bought books at the music house. So I was exposed to Robert Ludlum, Sidney Sheldon then, and James Michener, and Harold Robbins. And our neighbor had a collection of Mills and Boons and Barbara Cartland. So I also got to enjoy these romance novels and stories, the Barbara Cartland and even the Harlequin and the Mills and Boons. Mm. There was also a public library, the USIS, in the SSS building, the old SSS building, way, way back. It was in the 80s, and I would often go there after classes along Juan Osmeña Boulevard, and that's where I borrowed a lot of books. And in college, I went to San Carlos Salamban and also at the USJR and USC Maine, and I started collecting a lot of national newspapers. We had newspapers to the house, like we bought five almost every day, have them delivered at home. So, I mean, we had the Sun Star, the Freeman, we had the Philippine Daily Inquirer, the Manila Bulletin, we also have the Manila Standard, the Manila Times. And what was kind of weird was I would not really read all the newspapers, but I would make a comparison. Which newspaper had the best opinion page? I would read some of the opinions from those seven newspapers, and I would rank them. I would rate them. I would have a big notebook where I would write uh, the ranking. Which newspaper had the best opinion page? Which newspaper had the best entertainment page? So that was my hobby for quite some time. So we had piles and piles of newspaper in the house until they were sold. Ibaligyan na lang nahihigot. So that's it. I would read a lot of newspapers then, and I would rate the sections of those newspapers. And I took my Master of Arts in Literature in the University of San Carlos, Maine. And after finishing MassCom in USJR, that's what I did. And I started buying books when I started earning money. Hmm. So I was a radio jock since the early 90s. And on the side, I did some hosting and public speaking and also some teaching. So I had extra money. And my extra money would always go to the books that I love. Yes, I had more books than clothes. Mas daghang pa kong libro kaysa akong sanina. I remember we had piles, and I even brought those books here at the station. I had piles and piles of books, and I wouldn't call them a collection. Okay? A collection of it's organized. I just didn't organize them. I just hoard them. Whenever I go to a bookshop, when I go to book sale, or there are book sales in the Robinsons and other shopping centers, and then I would when I fancy a book, I would buy it. It's if it's even if it's expensive, if I just love the author, and I would buy the book, and then uh, the pile of to be read books would go higher and higher. So this episode is all about my reading habit, books, and the favorite books of the novels and authors. And this is brought to you by Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation. You're watching live this episode on our Facebook page, 96.3 W Rock, and we are heard on the website, audio streaming, live streaming, 963wrock.com. So let me check right now our Facebook page. Probably you're already there, tuned in to us. Thank you so much for viewing. And to our viewers, and gotta say hello now to Judy Gamalo. Good morning. I used to read Nancy Drew too. Oh, Judy, I have a collection from mystery number one to mystery number 56. That's the canon. I also have a complete set of the Hardy Boys books. Hi to Susan Isa. I sent all my books sa Pilipinas. Natitira yung new boom ko po, Resisting Happiness. And hi to GP Ursan. Good morning, Sir Bill, and everyone, and having a great time viewing your show. Uy, you're having a great time. Daghang salamat, GP Ursan. And Marie Antoinette Dufila Blanc. These days, just reading on Facebook count, it's still reading, but to me, it's you are distracted because when you're using your smartphone, or maybe you're reading something on Facebook or in your favorite social media, uh, you get distracted. You cannot really focus on the novel because you can scroll and then something would pop up, a notification would pop up. So you get distracted. And when you have an actual book, by the way, this is my current read, D.H. Lawrence, The Rainbow, a classic from this English writer, and this was delivered by Shopee. I forgot when. And let me see the date. Kano siya nag-deliver? March 16, 2024. Oh, just last month. So 1 month old na aking book, and I have yet to finish it. So I started buying books in the early 2000s, and I have accumulated so many books in 2 decades. I remember I donated my books 5 times to a public library in Mandawi City. I remember I let the people from the Mandawi City Public Library come to the station one Saturday morning, and lahak, yun hakot. I didn't have boxes then, so I just used the shopping bags. Butang, all those books inside the shopping bags. And then they brought them all to the Mandawi City Public Library. I still do that. But now I had to resist the urge to buy so many books because, again, they can be already had online. Mhm. That's it. So I've also donated all my secondhand books. And I was and I'm still very fond of English, European, and American classic literature. I'm not into the contemporary novels. I have stuck with classic literature, the 18th century, the 19th century classics, those masterpieces. And my favorite authors actually are Henry James, D.H. Lawrence, and also Virginia Woolf, and also Edith Wharton, E.F. Benson, and then also Saki, and who else? I also like Ernest Hemingway. And also F. Scott Fitzgerald, Dostoevsky, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Leo Tolstoy. By the way, so pandemic, that was 2 years. I was able to read Moby Dick, that thick book. Many people could not finish that book, but I was able to finish Moby Dick by Herman Melville during the pandemic, 2020 to 2021. And I also got to read for the second time in its entirety Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace. Bugat siya siya 1,000 plus pages. Bunch of what books? What app na? Joy ka? Nipis ka? Just thin books? Mhm. Like, I like to challenge myself. I like to go. I like to read those thick books. Alexandre Dumas, The Count of Monte Cristo, and I also finished reading Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov. And I'm still very fond of these books until now. And also, you may wonder, what books do you have now in the station bill? I have the Dorling and Kindersley books, and they're nonfiction, and they're references. And the fact that I have them a lot here, it gives me satisfaction to know that I have those books. Even if I can't read all of them, well, knowing that I have them, and napalit mo gito na ako, so happy na ako. It's like people collecting sneakers, rubber shoes, and they can't really wear all of them. Just like me, that's what they call the Japanese term was chundoku. Chundoku, you just keep hoarding the books and then without reading them. But I try my best to read. I think if I've already had 1,000 books, I think I've read only 5% pa na. Yeah, because my eyesight is not so good anymore. I started using reading glasses year 2001, so I was 41 years old. What time is it now? So let me invite you to go to our Facebook page, 96.3W. Make sure it's the official one. And of course, I'll greet you live. Hi to C. Sigel Antoevsky. I started with Sweet Valley High and Archie Comics. John Bergen Cabral. First time to ko nakadog mo magbisaya, sir. Because I'm a Cebuano. Di man ko Americano. John Bergen. Nabito ko siya. Sir, hop ka, sir? Si hop ba eh? Upside? This episode is brought to you by Bill Please is brought to you by Pagcor, a Philippine amusement and gaming corporation. Thank you for being. You better stay because I'll be back. Like the time is 10:14. Okay, let me continue reading your comments. Hi to. mm, By the way, I posted something on our Facebook page yesterday, and gotta say hello to who's your favorite author? Well, here are your responses. The authors, Paulo Coelho and Haruki Murakami, favorite authors of F.K. Pedraja. Elma Bergado loves the novels of Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson series. Paulo Coelho. People love Paulo Coelho and also Sydney Sheldon and Danielle Steele. And Grace also loves Robert Dugoni and Jojo Moyes and Lorelei Muskowski. And the favorite author is Charles Dickens. I also like Charles Dickens. John Grisham and Mary Higgins Clark. Well, Ingrid Cortez, we also like the same author, D.H. Lawrence. Lady Chatterley's Lover, hi Ingrid. And Shari de Villacua, Sydney Sheldon. Paulo Coelho from Winter Heat, Joanne Santos, Edgar Allan Poe, Agatha Christie. Yes, Agatha Christie, this very, very iconic mystery writer. Luis Emil, hi to you. Arnel Zaya. Arnel is from Book Sale, uh, SM City Branch, and he likes Patrick Suskind perfume. And Jean-Paul Logroño, he likes Edgar Allan Poe. Jen Flores, Agatha Christie, Sidney Sheldon, and the author of Jane Eyre is Charlotte Bronte. Mhm. Thank you for viewing and thank you for responding to our post on our Facebook page. Thank you. Mainom sa ko kay ugan ako baba. Magbinisaya po ko eh. I'm Cebuano, 100%. Welcome back to Bill Please, Episode 9, Reading, Books, Anything About Reading and Books. And this is brought to you by Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR. I have some information here, trivia. What is a bookworm and who is a bookworm? Britannica Dictionary defines bookworm a person who likes to read books and who spends a lot of time reading and studying. Bookworms are typically characterized by their love of reading and knowledge, and they tend to be introverted, preferring to spend their time alone with a book rather than being in a big group. The love of books is called bibliophilia or bibliophilism. A bibliophile or bookworm is an individual who loves and frequently reads or collects books. Not putting mga maniacs, no bibliomaniacs, gabi na dyan eh, characterizes those who are obsessed with books. Mo-addict na din sila, adis, libro. So much so that they will go to extreme measures, to obtain the books they want. Often bibliomaniacs will have multiple copies of the same book in different editions and varying conditions. I remember there was a season when I really collected different translations and different versions of the Bible. I stick to the King James Bible, which is for me the gold standard. I also had the NASB. I also had the Jerusalem Bible, the New International Version. I had and also the Living Translation. So there was a time when I really had to buy all those different versions and translations. I just wanted to have them. And then now I have mostly given them away. When someone says you're bookish, fond of reading and studying, often used to describe someone who enjoys spending time with books. So I can also be called a bookish person, well, a bit of a bookworm, but I'm not a bibliomaniac. Grabe na ka ng maniac nga. Hurot-hurot imong kwarta. Puro lang sa libro. So someone who loves words is called a logophile. Mm-hmm. So how fast, let's talk about reading. How fast is it to read Howard Stephen Bird, recognized as the world's fastest reader? He has set this record by reading at a speed of 25,000 words per minute. So, sample ha? Sample. Ano na siguro na niya? I think he just does this. Because I saw a video of Howard Bird. He reads books, he just touches the pages and then flips the pages and then that peripheral vision, very keen. This mind-blowing number results from mastering multiple speed reading techniques and is likely unattainable for an average person. An average person, mapila mga words ang mabasa niya per minute. Brazilian author Ryuki Inoue holds the Guinness World Record for being the most prolific author. Guess how many books he has published under many pseudonyms, 1,000 plus books. Inoue would write all day and all night until he finished a book. So how many books had he written? 1,283 books. Imagine 1,020. That's a lot. Now, making one book or having one book published is already a feat. Having 1,283 books, grabe na kayo na. So in the Philippines, who was the fastest reader? Nobody broke the record of Maria Teresa Calderon. In July 1968, A teenage Filipina at the Northwestern University in Chicago, Illinois, was recorded to read na napildigid si Stephen si Howard Berg kay 25,000 naman si Howard. Maria Theresa read 50,000 words per minute. But again, the question is, what about the comprehension? Uh, did she understand? Yes, she did, with 100% comprehension. And she was featured in the Encyclopedia Britannica, the Guinness Records, and a significant number of newspapers, education. So if this is her gift, so if you are a fast reader, so I won't buy na lang gid siguro. Mo lang siguro ko, I'll go to a bookshop. So I'll pick a book, and I'm a fast reader. I won't buy na lang the book. I will just read that in the bookshop, diba, friend? You go to a library, you don't have to borrow the book anymore. Okay, you can read it so fast. You can finish a book maybe in a few minutes. Okay, where is the world's largest library located? It's in Washington, D.C. And the world's largest library is the Library of Congress. Millions of books, recordings, photographs, maps, and manuscripts. Fun facts shared by Miss Lisa Flores, the author of Percy Jackson series, was actually a teacher named Rick Riordan. Oh, thank you, Lisa, for sharing this fun fact. Lisa, God bless you. May you have a great Wednesday. And the largest library in Asia, Asaman, it's in mainland China. It's the National Library of China, housing the largest collection of Chinese books in the world. Pero asaman ang oldest library located? It's in Morocco. Fez, Morocco. It dates back to year 859. So gaya na no? And year 2024 na karon. So this library in Morocco is still open. So let me continue to greet our viewers. We have viewers, of course, here in Cebu and also listeners. We have listeners in the United States, Canada, New Zealand, also there in Saudi Arabia. We also have listeners in Australia, New Zealand, also in okay. Also, we have the listeners in Qatar and in China and in Germany, and of course, we have our friends viewing us now. Hi to Noella, Zelen, Rustia, heart. Look at I got any heart. Thank you so much, Zelen. Brian Cuevas, Golden Voice. Wait, Golden Voice? Thank you. We buy some books from book sale. Really cheap. I hope we can bump into each other there, Brian. Asa man ka nga branch? I go to SM City, sometimes at Robinson's Fuente. Noella, Noel, Lo Franco, hi Billy, watching from Antioch, California. What time is it there, Noella, in California, as you speak? So thank you so much for writing and thank you for commenting. Here's an interesting trivia. A library book from New Bedford. So gibaro ni siya sa year 1903. This book, an elementary treatise on electricity. The book was borrowed in 1903, and it had to be returned or due back in December 1903. But listen to this. The book was only returned last year, 2023. So it took nearly 120 years for this book, an elementary treatise on electricity, to be returned to the library in New Bedford. Kaya sa 120 years na uli ang libro. Nauli pag yun. So that's it. And speaking of books, I also like to read nonfiction references, books about relationships, about health, and about history. And I'm also into reading art books and about cinema, about music. And speaking of music, thank you so much for always appreciating our playlist. Thank you so much for always tuning in. We're heard every day, 5 in the morning to 12 midnight. And you're watching now, Bill Please, a weekly show, and this time it's sponsored by Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR. Let me ask you, what book are you reading now? Do you have a book that is, if you read in bed, that's okay. But sometimes there are people who say, mubasa mo kong libro, Bill, eh, gusto ko matug. Oh, that's fine. Better than scrolling and scrolling and using your smartphone all through the night. So if you want us to have a chat or a discussion of another topic, of an interesting topic that you'd like me to talk about in the future editions of Bill, please just let us know. We are also on Messenger, and feel free to write us your comments and your reactions. Gotta go back to our Facebook Live right now. Gotta say hello to our friends. And okay, let me now read those. Uh, Yaxbo, I think this is Boyax. Boyax Haltea. Good morning, Bill, from Borongan City, Eastern Samar. Eastern Samar, very, very hot, I believe. Boyax. Noella Lofranco, it's 7:24 p.m. or 7 past in the evening. So what did you have for dinner, Noella? I hope you enjoyed your meal. Mitch Basali, good morning, DJ Billy. Thank you, Mitch. Good morning to you as well. And always tuning in to 96.3 W Rock here in Subang Dako, Mandaue City. And her name is Biyang Noval. I listen every day. I listen more every day than sending comments. It's okay, Biyang. Okay? It's ang importante that you're listening and enjoying our songs. Bill Please episode, and our topic today is something that I'm so fond of. It's reading, my favorite pastime, and my favorite hobby. Even if I don't get invited to a lot of gatherings and parties, but if I have a book at home to read, well, books are friends, and they are true companions, because books don't judge you. They're there if you want to read a book. If there's a book that could make me laugh, there's always one available in the house. So that's it. So I make sure. Yeah, I always have a book in my bag. Di na pwedeng gawas ko sa balay ng libro. Sometimes siguro when I go to the public market, pati mo sila maglibro basa sa isda. So yeah, in my backpack I always have a book. Sometimes one or two. It can be a devotional, or it can be a classic novel. So it's good. You model to your children um, uh, as readers. Your children will not read because they don't see you as parents read books or uh, newspapers or magazines or whatever, because everything's already online, everything's already on the smartphone. So if they see you scrolling, always logged on to Facebook, and of course their children will copy that. So if they see their parents, I believe in that, because I have a friend who just, her name is Nancy, and Nancy just loves to read, and the whole family, I believe, just reads because they see her reading the real book, the real pages. Mm. So you can start now. You can set the example now to your children. It's good to read, and I also read books when aron dili ko madisturbo, hindi ko padisturbo. Yeah. And also, it can add to your vocabulary. But I must tell you, everybody, that this is a confession. I don't read to become so bright, to become so wise. I read for pleasure. I read for pleasure. That's the only reason why. It's how the story is written. It's how the story is told. It's not about becoming brighter, more knowledgeable, but that was IQ. No, I've always loved reading because I enjoy reading. Words in front of me, that's it. So I have to say thank you to Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation for the sponsorship. Bill Please comes to you every Wednesday at 10 in the morning. So let me say, time for me to call the waiter. Bill Please. Thank you. Happy reading, everybody. See you next Wednesday.